Hi everyone, this is the news from Western Armenia, especially for you. Armenian Khachkars left in the dust. Meghretsots, Church of Shushi, a symbol of lost Armenian heritage. Why historians call the 1950 events genocide. French delegation visit the genocide against Armenians Memorial. Facts speak. Artsakh Armenian identity cannot be denied. Ararat. Where is the targeting of Artsakh Armenians leading? Ashot Harutyunyan. Armenian religious sites in Artsakh remain in danger. Armenian stuffed eggplant recipe. The famous medieval Armenian capital remains an important symbol of Armenian history, memory, and identity. Located in the Kars region of Western Armenia, it was once known as the city of 1,001 churches. Although Ani is very close to Armenia, the closed border makes it difficult to reach. Its churches, walls, inscriptions, and Khachkars still show the strong Armenian presence there. However, many visitors do not know the Armenian history behind these monuments. A painful sight is that many Khachkars lie face down in the grass and dust. This is not just neglect, but a symbol of hidden and silenced memory. Despite everything, Ani continues to live in Armenian memory through its stones. After the Armenian massacres in Shushi in 1920, many Armenian churches and cultural monuments were looted and destroyed. One of them was the famous Meghretsots church, one of Shushi's 11 Armenian churches. Old photographs show that the church already damaged and robbed. For many years, it remained half-unit. Later, in the 1970s, it was completely destroyed under the Soviet leadership in Baku. Shushi had long been an important Armenian cultural, educational, and spiritual center. Its churches were not only places of prayer, but also witnesses of Armenian identity. Today, the history of Meghretsots Church remains as how important it is to protect cultural heritage. The study of the 1950 event shows why many historians use the words genocide and extermination. Before the mass deportations, Ottoman authorities disarmed and isolated Armenian men. Many Armenian men were taken from the army, sent to forced labor battalions, or killed. As a result, Armenian communities were left mostly with women, children, and the elderly. The deportations then became death marches through the desert without enough food, water, or protection. Many Armenians were attacked, robbed, and massacred on the way. Historians say this was not a civil war because one side was defenseless. Raphael Lemkin, who created the term genocide, also used the Armenian case as an example. On May 20, a delegation led by Tiffany, vice-president of the Ile-de-France region of France, visited the genocide against Armenians Memorial complex. They were accompanied by the French ambassador to Armenia, Olivier de Courtenay. The guests were welcomed by Harutyunyan, acting director of the Genocide Against Armenians Museum Institute. A French-speaking guide presented the history of the memorial. Tiffany laid a road at the monument dedicated to the victims of the genocide against Armenians. The delegation also placed flowers near the eternal flame and observed a minute of silence. They visited the memorial wall and learned about foreign figures who supported Armenians. At the end, they turned the museum and left a note to the book of honorary guests. Priest Ararat wrote that the claim Artsakh was never ours does not match historical facts. For centuries, Armenians lived in Artsakh, built villages, churches, schools, and communities. Historical data records tens and even thousands, hundreds of thousands of Armenians living there. In 1909, Artsakh had 190,000 inhabitants, 226 villages, 221 churches, and 68 schools. Shushi alone had tens of thousands of Armenian residents in different periods. These numbers show an organized Armenian cultural, educational, and spiritual life. Hundreds of churches and schools cannot appear in an empty land. According to Ararat, Artsakh's Armenian identity is proven not by words, but by the life and presence of Armenians there. Ashot Harutyunyan writes that the event of 2080, 2020 and 2023 cannot be considered understood without pain and emotion. However, in politics and public speeches calm that fact-based analysis is the strongest weapon. He says that recent events in Armenia's internal political life show a serious crisis of statehood and public unity. According to him, the rhetoric used by Pashinyan and his team since 2018 has created distrust and alliancing toward Artsakh Armenians. Some experts describe this as Artsakhophobia. Harutyunyan warns that this atmosphere has now reached a dangerous level. The full article is available through the provided link. The 2026 USCIRF report, based on 2025 data, criticized Baku for religious freedom violations and destruction of Armenian cultural heritage. The report says that Azerbaijan continues to strictly control religious activity. It also focuses on Armenian religious sites in Artsakh and nearby territories. According to satellite image, by July 2025, at least 8 Armenian religious monuments had been destroyed and 10 more damaged. This includes churches, cemeteries, and other cultural sites. The report also says that detained Armenians are often denied religious items, including the Bible. USCIRF called on the US government to keep Baku on the special watch list. It also suggested sanctions against officials responsible for human rights and religious freedom violations. Stuffed eggplant is a traditional and beloved Armenian dish. It is often prepared in summer and autumn when vegetables are fresh. The dish is made with eggplants, ground meat, onion, tomatoes, pepper, garlic, tomato paste, spices, and greens. First, the eggplants are washed, cut lengthwise, and partly hollowed out. Then they are lightly fried until soft. The filling is made by cooking onion, meat, tomatoes, pepper, garlic, spices, and tomato paste. The eggplants are filled with this mixture and placed in a baking dish. They are baked at 180 Celsius for about 30-35 minutes and served with greens and, if desired, yogurt. Bon appetit! So this was all for today's news. If you want something to learn, you can easily find Western Armenia's website and read everything there. Thank you for watching.